Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, we're learning Masechtas Moed Katan daf Tes. We are going to begin on Tes Amud Aleph, about 6 lines from the top. U'de'ein marvin simcha b'simcha menolan. So we said one of the reasons why a person cannot get married b'moed is because you cannot get married, which is simcha, connected to another simcha, which is simcha Yom Tov. But how do we actually see this in Psukim? The pasuk says, "V'yash Shlomo be'esahi esachag." That Shlomo Melech made a holiday, and this is at the time when he had built the first Beis HaMikdash. The Chol Yisrael imoi, and everyone was there. Kahal Gadol, it was a huge group. B'lo b'chamas anachal Mitzrayim lifnei Hashem Elokeinu. Shivas yomim v'shivas yomim arba asar yom. Now, for some reason, like we can't count, 7 days, 14 days. It's interesting language that it says it in this particular way. So what exactly does this mean? So v'im isa dema'arbin simcha b'simcha, if in fact you can just mix them together, so in that case, iboy lemintar adachag. You should have just waited until Sukkot, u'meved shibel hachal hacha, and he could have mixed the 7 days and 7 days together. So therefore, what we're deriving from here, which is question 7, of how do we know this, is we learn this from Shlomo Melech. By the Chanukas Habayis, by the inauguration of the Beis HaMikdash, in the days of Shlomo, why does it say 7 days and 7 days? Instead of him having it all together, he decided to have 7 days of celebration of the Chanukas Habayis, and then the 7 days of Sukkot. So the reason why he did it that way is because of this notion of ein marvin simcha b'simcha. So where says 1 second. The Dilma mintar lo matrinan. Maybe you're right, we're not going to delay the heichadis rami avdinan. But if it just happens to fall out, then we should be able to do it. Now, fine. So where it says iboile l'shuri porta, then he should have left over. Should have left over something. My answer is shir binyan beis hamikdash lo masharinan. The leaving over for the Beis HaMikdash is nothing we would do. Shuri kali orev. Well, he could have at least left the kali orev. The kali orev were these alma by alma, like spikes almost, which are on the top, so that the ravens would not lie down over there and cause problems. As Rashi's Hagag Kole. Let's actually see the Rashi before that. The heichadi equally ovid. If in fact, maybe you could do it. So you boil shuri bebinyan. You should have held something back, not built something, not completed it out of regel. Ki heichadis ramili chanukas habayis beregel. So let it all happen at the same time. The answer is no. We're not going to stop building it. Right? We're not going to delay the building of the basement. So maybe we just delay this one thing, the amakalia. As Rashi explains what it is. Okay. So where it says, Amakalia Oiriv Sarech Binyan Abayasu. That's what I mean. It's still part of the bias at Beis HaMikdash. It's needed. Ela Mide Maiter Kra. The fact that the pasuk has this extra Michtik Siv Arba Asar 14 days. Arba Asar Yom. So Shivash Yom and Shivash Yom and Lam Lishma Mina Hani L'chud V'Hani L'chud. Again, it's clear that that's what was done. Amar Rab Parnach Amar Rab Yochanan Isa Shana Lo Asir Solas Yom Kippurim. That year, the first Beis HaMikdash, the Jews actually ate. They did not keep Yom Kippur. Says Rashi, Vi Shishiva Yomim Shlifnei Sukkos, 7 days before Sukkot, Kol Yom Asu Simcha. Mishnah, they celebrated. This is interesting. So he actually did this. He didn't want to do it during Sukkot, but there's no issue of ein marvin simcha simcha by Yom Kippur, right? So they ate on Yom Kippur. They were actually worried. Maybe we're going to get punished. Of course, this is a euphemism. Lashon Sagi no, is talking about themselves. So Yazabaska v'yamulahem kulchem muzumanim l'chayom haba. It's okay. You're muzum l'chayom haba. I know you ate on Yom Kippur. It's fine. My Darsh. So Amr Kal v'chaymer said like this: Ma Mishkan. When it comes to the Mishkan, Shein Kedushas Kedushas Ha'ilam, because the Mishkan is in the Midbar for a limited amount of time, or Mishkan Shiloh, the carbon Yachid Daicha Shabbos, the Isser Skila. When it comes to a carbon Yachid, is Daicha Shabbos, is an Isser skill, says Rashi. The carbon Yachid of the Nesiim, there's an Isser skill attached. It's even more chomer than kares. So mikdash the kedushas olam, which is more significant of carbon sibor Yom Kippurim danish kares, in which carbon sibor and Yom Kippur is the punishment of kares lo kol shekain, all the more so, right? So elamai hayaduagim. So then, why are they afraid? What were they worried about? After all, l'chayra, this was a good kal v'chaymer. So Hasam Tzarech Gavoa Hachat Tzarech Hedget. Over there by the Mishkan, it's Gavoa, these karbanos. So therefore, it was allowed. But maybe over here by the Chanukas Abayis, that the Hedget is making a mishta as a party, so that's not a valid kal v'chomer, right? A person's not allowed to just assume that you can do this. Fine. So when it came to the Mishkan, a carbon yachid is Deicha Shabbos. And it's, even though there's an Isser Skila of Shabbos, so Yom Kippur, which is Kares, which is not as Chomer, right? And again, it's Kedushas Olam, so maybe for sure we're allowed to push off Yom Kippur, okay? So again, maybe it's not necessarily a good proof, because over here, it's a Hedjit. Hachinami Mevid Leivdu. So let them do the avoda. Mechel loy nechel v'lishtu. They just won't eat or drink. They won't eat or drink. What's the whole problem? The answer is in simcha b'lo achil v'shtia. There's no simcha without eating and drinking. Says Rashi, hachinami leidu karbanos mechel leichlu. So again, in simcha achil v'shtia. You have to be eating and drinking with is the simcha. Umishkan dedachi Shabbos manol. And how do we know that the Mishkan is deicha Shabbos? Elema milchsev yom rishon v'yom hashvi dilma shvi karbanos. How do we know when it comes to the Nesiim that when they brought the karbanos that they were allowed to do so, which again was a carbon yachid? How do we know that their karbanos were in fact deicha Shabbos? So Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Kra b'yom ashti asar yom. So my yom kulo rotzuf. So just like that day is consecutive, so too all these other days are consecutive, which means that it's including the day of Shabbos. And therefore they were, obviously it was brought on Shabbos and it was Deicha Shabbos. The Dilma Yomim Haruyin Ksiv. Maybe it just means days that you're allowed to bring the karbanos, but it's not, they skipped Shabbos because it was Deicha Shabbos. The Karachrina. Yom Shnei Masar on the 12th day, Yom, so my Yom Kul Rotzov Av Shnei Maser Yom Kul and Ritzufim, against all consecutive. Dilma Hachinami Yomim Haruyin. Maybe it's just the days you're allowed to bring, but not Shabbos. Even Cain Shri Kor Lumley. So why do you have two psukim to tell us the same thing? It must be it's coming to tell you that the Nesiim, even though it's a carbon yachid, they were allowed to bring it because it was Deicha Shabbos. Says Rashi, Ha Yom Yisera Mashma Ma Yom Rotzov She'en Bo Hefsek. There's no interruption. The day is a full day. Av kul yodal if yoim rotzav deleka hefsek ben a time of fil b'Shabbos. Okay, so therefore that was their kal v'chaymer. The kal v'chaymer is that when it comes to a carbon yachid, the Nesiim, so they were allowed to do it. So we can also eat on Yom Kippur, even though Yom Kippur is less chomer than Shabbos because Shabbos is an Isser Skila. But again, maybe it wasn't a good kal v'chaymer because who knows. Because it was a hedget. Weiter. How do we know that when it comes to the mikdash, that is Deicha Yom Kippur? Again, maybe it's just the days that are fit. So Gomer Yom Mahasam, one Xer Shava. Everyone's Mezuman L'chalam Haba, which means it was okay what they did. How do we know that Hashem forgave them? The Tani Tachlifa, it says like this: But Yom Hashmini, on the 8th day, Shilach Hasam Yivarchu Es Hamelach V'Yelchu Aleihem. So they all went to their tents. What happened? They were Semeichim B'Toivi Leiv. They were joyful and they had good hearts. They were happy. So what happened that they were so happy? So the Gemara says, they found their wives that they were b'tahara, they were nida. they got hana from the Shechina. The toivi leiv shekol echad echad this aber ishto beben zachar. That each one of their wives, when she was pregnant, gave birth to a male. So it's always interesting, the language ben zachar. So some people jokingly say you can have a son, but you want to make sure he's a ben zachar. Okay. Al kol toiv shiyatza bas kol v'yarmul hem kulchem uzumanu v'chom haba. Well, David Abdul Yisrael Amos. So Bishlam Yisrael Amoid Achilhu of Yom Kippur. Hashem forgave him for the sin of Yom Kippur. El David Abdoi Mahi. What exactly is that? What is that being added on? So Rav Yehuda Marav. So quoting the Gemara in the Shabbos, in the second paragraph of the Medalikin, B'shah Shabike Shlomo Hachnas Aron Mikdash. When Shlomo Melech wanted to bring the Aron into the base of Mikdash, Dovku Sharim Zelazeh. The gates closed up. Amrar Shlomo Esnevi Arba Rananais. He was saying these 24 praises, and nothing happened. So Pasam Yamar Su Shamar Shechem Goimer Vonena. He wasn't answered. Kivan Shamar Hashem Elokim Al Tashe Pnei Meshichecha Zachor Chaste David Avdecha. Once he mentions David, Miyad Nena. Then it was answered. Ba'isa Shah Nefchu Pnei Saini David. All those people that hated David, their faces turned kishuli kedera, like the blackening of a pot, of an oven. But Yadu HaKoyel Shemachal HaKadosh Baruch Hu Alei So'avon. And it was clear that Hashem had forgiven David al oiso avoin for that particular sin, which is referring to the sin of Bathsheba. Rav Yonasan ben, and some people say that's the reason why we say Sukkos David Hanofalas. So David HaMelech does get some credit over here connected to the base of Mikdash. Rav Yonasan ben Asmoy, Rav Yehuda ben Gerim, Tonu Parshas Nedarim. They were learning the Parsha of Nedarim. Bei Rav Shimon ben Yochai Ifteri Minei Be'orta, and he had departed from them night. L'safra, the next morning, Hadar V'ka Maftri Minei. He went, and again he parted from him. Armahu v'lav iftaritu mini be'orta. Did you not already take leave from us at night? Armalei lomantin rabbeinu talmid sheniftem rabbi. If you have a student that leaves, however, lon ba'isel ha'ir, and if he decides to sleep in the same city, he didn't leave the city, he has to go back to his Rabbi to show him proper respect and to take leave from him again. Shneimar b'yom hashmini shilach esa'am v'yivarchu esamelech. So it says he was sent. So it says it again. And you're sleeping in that city. So again, it's a way of showing respect. Fine. These people are clearly people of great stature. Says Rashi, Kloimer Chachamim. They're very wise. Zil Gabei Hoin. Go toward them. That they'll give you a bracha. So Ozol Ashchinhu de Karamu Kroi Hadadi. He's found that they were actually having a dispute about psukim that were seemingly contradictory. Ksiv, in one hand, the pasuk says, Pales Magal Raglecha. And all your ways will be prepared. What is that referring to? Rashi says, Shekol mitzvos, that mitzvahs are equal, v'ayin behem ezu mitzvah gedayla v'asa gedayla. You should look at the different mitzvahs and figure out which one is the bigger one, the better one, and do the bigger one. Uksiv, arachayim pen tefales, says Rashi, every mitzvah you should do. Ben gedayla, ben katana, don't push off the small one because of the big one. So how do you read these psukim? The one pasuk says, do the bigger one. The other one says, big or small, do them all. Don't push off the small ones. Do them all. So, lo kasha. Kan b'mitzvah she'er sh'lasois alidei acherim. We're going to go back to this Rashi. Kan b'mitzvah she'er sh'lasois alidei acherim. So what does this mean? So Rashi says like this. When it comes to Tifales, Pales, Mago, Raglecha, Shaso, Oita, Hagadoy, Vachabercha, Yaso, Katana. If someone else could do the other mitzvah, so you do the bigger one and have someone else do the other one. So, but both tasks are still going to be completed. However, If it's something which cannot be done al yedei acherim, says Rashi, al tefales el mitzvah shebo liyadcha ben gadol ben katan aseh. You should do both. Fine. Hadar Yasve, there continues sitting, become a boiling sieve. Another pasuk in Mishlei, it says Yikara hi mipeninim. Beautiful and great is these jewels. V'chol chafetzecha lo yishbaba. But all of your objects is not equal to it. Ha'chefzi shamayim yishababa. It's mashma only objects which are matters of the world. However, chefzi shamayim is equal to it. In other words, a mitzvah is equal to Torah, says Rashi, right? A person should not stop learning to do other activities. However, maybe when it comes to mitzvahs, Kalaimer says Rashi, mitzvah. This is L'chara saying you could stop learning Torah to do a particular mitzvah. This is mashma that mitzvahs are not equal to Torah. So again, if you have a mitzvah that someone else can do, so keep learning Torah. However, if it's a mitzvah that no one else can do and you are the only one to do it, then you should do it, and even if that means not learning. So my boy is Hacha, so he said, what exactly are you doing here? So the Armuli Abba, my father said, Zil Gabayhu Varchuch. I should come to you because you'll bless us, because you're because you're a great chacham. Armalei, hey Rabbi should be your will of Hashem, to tizra v'loy texad, that you should grow and with seeds, and you should not be cut. You shouldn't cut it down. Ti'ayel v'lo tepuk, that you should go up and should go in and not to go out. Tepuk v'lo tayel, and it says to go out and not to go up. Lichra beisach v'leisav ushpizach, to literally means. So Rashi says, first of all, ti'ayel kalta shederach kalata halecha seitzel habal. Okay, we'll see this in a second. Lichra beisav v'leisav ushpizach, that to destroy your house and to dwell like in an inn. Levalvel pesorach, mix up your bread, and don't drink something new. So, when he went to his father, you want me to get a bracha? Dad, not only did they not give me a bracha, they caused me all this anguish. They were telling me all these terrible things. So my Yermalach, what did they say? So he said this is what it was. These are all blessings that they were saying to you. First of all, when they said techtzad, what does that mean? That you will give birth to children and they will not die. Just like that's your zera. You'll have children and they will not be cut down. Ti'ayel v'lo tepuk means ti'ayel kalta, your daughter-in-law will go up. V'lo limusu banach delifkun, and will not die your son. Tepuk v'lo ti'ayel toiled banasa v'lo yamusu gavaraihu, that again your daughter will give birth and the man will not die. V'lo hadruk levasach, and who will Yamusu Gvarsayu, and V'lahadru Kavosach, they'll come back to you. V'lichra Beisach V'leisav Ushpinoch Pizach. So what does that? It means the Hayalma Ushpizach. This world is like an inn. Vahi Alma Beisa, and Olam Haba is like the house. So he's saying the pasuk says kirbam betemo oilam, so al tikri kirbam ela kivram, the grave. Levalvel pesorach kivne kivane uvanasa, regarding giving bread to the sons and daughters. V'techsi shata chadash, not to drink water, this new liquid. Dolamusu in tach, that your wife will not die. V'lo tinsav intata achrini, and she will not have to end up marrying someone else. Rabbi Shimon ben Chalafta ifter minei de Rav. So he left and parted from Rav. Amalei avua zil gabe dilivarchach. Come and I'll give you a brach. So Amalei yehi Rav delo tivayesh v'lo tisbayesh. You should not be embarrassed, and no one should embarrass you. Also could be avua. Amalei mai amalach. What do you say? Amalei milan ba'almahu. Amalei, you're just speaking regular words. Amalei berchach birchasa de berchan kirchibrichu Israel. That actually is a bracha that Hashem gave to Klal Yisrael. It's not a simple thing. The Tana b'dichsiv v'achaltem ochel v'sava v'hilaltem v'gomer v'yavoshu amu yo'olam v'yadatem ki b'ker v'yisrael anhi v'gomer v'yavoshu ami l'olam. So the fact that he said not to be embarrassed, not to embarrass others, this is not some simple bracha. This is actually a very bracha in which Hashem gave us directly. V'asa isha tachshiteha. So a woman could have tachshit, have these like makeup. So tanabon elohin tachshit nashim koicheles upoikeses umavira sarakal paneha. So these different makeups, either for the eye application or to fix their hair. The Ami, some say ma'averes sarakal paneha shel mata. It's actually referring to not the hair above, but lamata below. The base of Rav Chisda, mikashta ba'anpe kalta. So the wife of Rav Chisda was getting anointed, putting on makeup in front of daughter-in-law. Yosef Rav Huna bar Chinana kamed Rav Chisda v'Yosef v'kamer lo shonu el yalda avol zakena lo. The only time we allow this is for a young woman, says Rashi. Bechura shidarka b'kach. This is what she normally does. L'hachi havila simcha b'moed. Therefore, it's an element of joy. But an older woman, the hechi avdi ishtacha hachi, the mikashtu havi zakena. Why would this be allowed? This is not. She normally doesn't do this. So why would it be allowed? So Amalei Helukim, I swear to you, I feel imach, I feel ima di imach. You feel omedes al kivra. It says even your mother, your grandmother, even if you're standing on the grave. The amri inshi bashitin kabashis lekal tavla rahata. What does that mean? It says Rashi, perush kishkush hazug, the sound of a bell. Ratzaloimer mini zemer behilula v'chi hechi. Derahata yalda bas shis, lakal hilulin hachi avda bas shitin v'hachi nami mikashta. So basically, you're saying that this is not an exception specifically for a young woman, but even for a zakena, and therefore my wife can do it as well. Rabbi Yehuda Omer lo sasud, not to put on this lime. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer isha lo tasud nemnei shenivel hu law, because it's something which will make her feel bad the way she looks on, and we don't want her to feel bad on Yom Tov. However, Moed Rabbi Yehuda b'sid she'achayla l'kaploi b'moed shetopalta b'moed. If it's something that could be removed during the moed, so she could do it, and she just could remove it. It's not a problem. Even though right now the way she looks, she doesn't feel so good about her looks now, but she'll be happy afterwards. So therefore, it's not an issue, says Rashi. It will remove her hair that she doesn't like, and it'll make her skin nice. Even though she's upset now, but it will have a positive feeling for later on Yom Tov or on Moed, and therefore it's allowed. I'm easily Rabbi Yehuda Haisvara, but non Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Nifroyin Mehen. You can pay back. They can pay you money, Memnei Shemeitzar, because it will cause them pain. Now, what is this referring to? Says Rashi, Me'akutim. You're allowed to collect money that the kutim owe you. B'yom chagam, on their holiday, because when you have to pay back money, you have a lot of money in your wallet, and all of a sudden you have to pay someone up, so you feel bad that you actually have to pay them. So that you're allowed to do. You can't pay them if you owe the kuti money. You can't give them on their holiday, because then they'll be happy, right? And this is brought down to Masechtas Avodah Zarah. So Amrulo, they said, even though right now he's going to be upset by paying you, he's going to be happy afterwards. Which means, since he's going to be happy afterwards, so maybe you're not allowed to collect that money. So again, but this is not the shita of Rabbi Yehuda, right? Rabbi Yehuda says because of the pain, which clearly he does not say the reason that it's the issue that the pain is insignificant to the joy afterwards. But he says over here regarding the tzid that is how we look at it. This is going to be question 8. Ketzad hiter Rabbi Yehuda litful b'tzid. How can you remove this lime on the face? She'ichay lekapel b'moed v'hari hu hiter lihiparer b'kuti b'yom chagam. He allows to collect from the kuti. V'lo asim neisha samach achar zman. So we're going to see 2 answers. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak hanach l'hilchas moed. The kul meitzar achshav v'sameach achar zman ninhu. The whole element of Moed is, it's a little bit of pain, annoyance now, but it's for the enjoyment for later on. So, for example, says Rashi, "Deshari mishum haytaima nami l'shor kagain afiya bishul." You have to bake and cook. How are you allowed to do that? That's not enjoyable. I mean, some people like to cook. The idea is that it's somewhat not desired. The mitzair hashta. But we don't look at it that way. Now you'll have food to eat on Yom Tov. So the whole element of Simchas Yom Tov that's allowed to cook and to prepare is this idea, which is what we're talking about with the removal of this seed, is that even though it's sar now, but it's going to be sameach afterwards. So she can wear it. Ravina Omer kuti l'inyan piroyin l'oil meitzar. When a kuti, when he has to pay you, he's always going to be in tsar. So let's look at, let me just see how he writes this in question 8. Question 8. Svirli de'ein hakuti sameach af la'achar zman. And perhaps part of it is maybe the kuti thinks he can get away with not having to pay you at all, maybe. I don't know. So it's possible that he's not going to be happy that he no longer has the burden of having to pay you. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda, but B'nai Yisrael, he gil pirkon, when they reach their age in which they have pubic hairs and the like. Lo higil shanim, but they didn't reach years. Anios typhus asamatsid. So they remove those hairs with this lime. Ashiras typhus asamatsilus. They use this some type of a flour. Benos malachim is shemen amor. They use a special type of more oil, as we see in Megillah Esther. Shnemar shisha chadashim shemen amor. So what is that? So my shemen amor. So Rahuna barachia omer savchas. Doesn't really explain what that is. What does Rashi say? Okay, Irmi Baram Yomer shemen zayis. It's olive oil shul higish shlish. Not a third. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer. And pikinoin shel zayas shemen zayas shel havir shlish. So v'lo masachanai. So why do they smear it on them? Shemashir SSA removes those hairs. Ma'adin as a basar, and it causes the skin to look nice. Rabbi Havile Barta, he had a daughter. Tafla Aver, and he used to only do this limb by limb. On them. So Shakal Badal Meazuzi, Haviyahu Kuti Bishavuse, there was this Kuti and his neighbor, the Havli Barta, that also had a daughter, Tafel Bachad Zimna. They did this all at one time, and this was actually not a good idea, as Rashi says. B'Shakal Ba'ar Meazuzi, Shinis Pias Vanatal Mabalokach. The Savar Lamavid Karabibi Omesa. So it ended up she died. So Amar Katla Bibi Liberati. Bibi killed my daughter. So Rabbi Nachman Bar Bibi Deshasi Shichra Ba'ayin Bante Tafla Anan Delishasisan Shichra Ba'ayin Bantin Tafla. Says Rashi. The Shecher Megadol Haseir. So it's all dependent, as he explains, on a person who drinks this type of a beer. So depending on your other habits, it's possible that is what caused her to be sick and to not be able to handle having all of this on her all at once. And therefore, because she did it in this way, again, anan deloisha sinan shechar, we don't drink this lo ba'ayin bantin tafla. We don't require this same amount, if you will. But again, the notion over here is this concept in which there are certain things that are allowed to be put on their body in order to beautify them, even though perhaps it may not be so enjoyable at the moment, but because of Simchas Yom Tov, it will be joyous, that she will be happy, and therefore it's allowed. Okay. TA 28. So he said it was a Kal V'Chomer from the Nesiim, just Testament Aleph. Umamai hayu duagim, because maybe that's only by a Nasi, that's for the Beis HaMikdash, but not L'Gvoa. So the Kal V'Chomer Chanukas HaMishkan, Shena Kedushas Oilon V'Karbon Yochid, which is in the Nesiim, V'Isr Skila, as we said. Okay. Question TB 29. Mehem Chaluki Hadinim Hamuvorim B'Gemara Ben Mitzvah Shev Shel Asoysen Alidei Acherim Ben Mitzvah Shev Shel Asoysen Alidei Acherim. So we said two answers, which is a great question. One has to do with if you're learning Torah, are you allowed to stop your learning? Also, if you have a big mitzvah and a small mitzvah, so should you push off the small mitzvah? So only if there's someone else that can do the small mitzvah. Otherwise, you should do both.